Good morning. I'm Sergeant Jared Smith, and today we are joined by the Commanding General of the 19th Expeditionary Sustainment Command, Brigadier General Mark T. Simerly. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Sergeant Smith. Thanks for having me on your show.
Thank you for coming on, sir. I had a question for you, mainly with 2020. It's been a very interesting year for us across the Republic of Korea, specifically with Area 4. And I know you wanted to take some time to share your thoughts on how our troops, families, and the community has rallied together to combat COVID-19.
Well, thanks for that question. I'll tell you, I think we can all reflect with a great deal of pride on the success we've had in response to the COVID-19 threat down here in Area 4 and in the city of Daegu in particular. You think about the epicenter of the epidemic occurring in South Korea and the threat that posed to our military community. Close to 11,000 soldiers, families, and civilians all together. And out of that set, we only had 9 positive cases and only 1 single soldier out of that. So the past 90 days, we've demonstrated a lot of resolve, we've demonstrated resilience, and we demonstrate a strong community approach to fighting the virus and killing the virus. The virus is not dead yet, and we still have to remain vigilant, but we've made tremendous strides. And I'm very grateful to this community, very grateful for all the leaders and all the members of this team who have done amazing things to ensure that we've been able to protect our readiness and protect our community. And there's so many folks out there who've played a critical role that it's too difficult to thank them all individually, but it is a remarkable team approach that we've had that's led to our success.
The last 4 months have shown you a lot about the resiliency of our personnel and the importance of our relationship with this community. How did it make you feel to see everyone pull together during the sudden transition period to make the most of a bad situation?
Well, a tremendous sense of pride, and it's really what we expected. We already had a strong community here. We already had proven means that we gained through our training to combine, to communicate and collaborate, but not so much in a public way as we've had with this COVID-19 response. And it has been a great example of a community coming together, all the leaders communicating, collaborating, employing mutual support, communicating very well. And I can tell you, the AFN team, all of our public affairs specialists across the board, from U.S. Forces Korea, 8th Army, on down to the folks here in Area 4, have all done a tremendous job with the command messaging, making sure we can communicate the threat, making sure we can communicate the way that we have to protect our forces and the measures that we all have to take as a community. And so that's been a huge part of our success, is that communications. I'll also say that one of the unique aspects of serving here in Daegu is our strong relationships with the city of Daegu, population 2.5 million, the 4th largest city in Korea, and understanding the way that they responded to the COVID-19 threat, and our active communication and collaboration with the city. The example that they set with the citizens of Daegu really set the table for our population to understand what the risk was and to be in a position where we could see others responding to it in an appropriate way that led to success here in Daegu. So our communications with the civic officials here have been very robust and very strong, and very grateful to the leadership, Mayor Kwan and the city of Daegu and others. And I'll add to that the 2nd Operational Command, the 4-star Rock Army Command, which is headquartered here in Daegu as well. Them sharing their lessons learned, them sharing their best practices, and then communicating and collaborating together and training on response efforts. So we did combined operations in the city of Daegu with disinfection operations that really helped to train us for our clean team approach as well inside our camps.
As we respond to these threats within our camps, there is a lot of thought about how we're on this downhill path, that we're getting close to eliminating COVID. However, as you know, the final hours of a fight is the most important. So what specifically are the critical tasks we need to continue to follow to see through the end of this virus as a united front?
It's a very timely question, and I think there is a perception that we may be entering the final hours of the fight against COVID-19 here in Korea. And we've seen recent success that have set the table for the Republic of Korea to relax their restrictions. But at the same time, we've also seen, just at the time that they relaxed those restrictions, another outbreak in Seoul. So it's a reminder that we may perceive we're in the late hours or at the end of our response, when in actuality, we don't know how long it's going to be continuing. What we do know is that the threat persists. We do know that we need to remain vigilant. We need to remain compliant, and we need to watch very carefully the conditions that we set and how we operate. The threat has not gone away. We all have a responsibility to understand the threat and understand what we have to do to mitigate it. So, you know, as a command, we'll be focusing on making sure we communicate well to everybody what the changes will be going forward. But also, if we cannot change or relax some of our restrictions at the pace that we expect it to, why we will not be able to do that if the threat remains outside our gates. And we want to keep it outside of our gates, of course.
It's often said, winning is impossible without sustainment. As a sustainment leader, you understand the impact of supporting multiple teams. In what specific areas do you think Team 19 has set the conditions for success in support of the 8th Army and USFK as we work to kill the virus?
Well, thanks. It's a real important question for us in Team 19 and in Area 4. What's the role of Team 19 in setting conditions for us to be successful? And I can tell you that early on, we realized this was going to be a long-term effort. It wasn't going to be something that we could quickly extinguish, and we just hope it would go away. So we developed a campaign approach to this from the early days of the outbreak here in Daegu, understanding that, you know, right outside our gates, quite literally, was the epicenter of the outbreak here. With that heightened risk, we knew we had a responsibility to do that. So we established a campaign focused upon 3 tasks: protect, respond, and sustain. And so the protect portion was task organizing all of our capabilities across the area so we could have the communications, the collaboration, and all of the condition setting that we needed to have in order to be successful down here. Protecting also meant establishing the control measures, the restrictions, all those things that help protect our bases and all of our family members and all the entire community as well. On the response side, we wanted to be able to understand the environment so we could create the conditions and the mechanisms so that as the conditions changed, as the risk increased or as it decreased, we could respond appropriately. If we had outbreaks, we would have the medical capability so we could respond rapidly. If we had other challenges, we could put our clean teams into effect. And also on the readiness side, so the sustain part, we still had that mission of sustaining 8th Army readiness, of sustaining readiness on the pen. So we didn't have the liberty of staying at home. We had to stay in the fight. We had to maintain our readiness. So we fought through the ways that we could do that under COVID-19 environment, so that we wouldn't reduce our effectiveness and reduce readiness. So that was our 3-phased approach with responding, protecting, and sustaining.
You created the hashtag #BeStrongDaegu. How specifically have you seen our alliance with our local community and the ROK Army enhance as a result of this campaign? And what would you like to say to the mayors of both Namgu and Daegu about their support to us during this time?
Well, I'd like to take credit for Himneo Daegu, Be Strong Daegu, but quite frankly, we borrowed that phrase from the city of Daegu. We adopted the same messaging campaign they were using with their citizens. And the purpose of the campaign was to assure the community that we understood what was taking place here in Daegu, and that we had skin in the game along with them, and we were part and parcel of the solution, and that we were acting together, and that the alliance would survive COVID-19 and would even grow and strengthen during that time. And the way that it grew and strengthened was the collaboration that we had with the civic officials, the advice that we received from them, and the encouragement that we provided them and the other citizens of Daegu specifically. And then within the ROK Army, as I mentioned, we had the opportunity to train with them. We had the opportunity to focus on interoperability in a different setting. We got to exercise mission command in different ways alongside with them. So even though we weren't able to focus on some of our traditional interoperability tasks, we were limited in the amount of physical engagements we had to be more creative about our virtual engagements. So we've grown some capacity in that regard that we haven't had to tap before.
As people were thinking about those final hours, they're also hoping that we can eventually get back to HPCOM Bravo, hopefully in the near future. When that change is made, what lessons from this experience would you want to see that we continue as we follow to ensure the maintenance of high standards of health and protection for our personnel?
Yeah, thank you for that. So General Abrams will make the decision on HPCOM Bravo. We don't know exactly when he'll decide it's time to change. And certainly what's taken place in Seoul over the recent week will affect that decision and may affect the conditions under HPCOM Bravo that we move to. So it may not be as significant a shift as it would have been otherwise. But I do believe that based upon the conditions we're seeing in the country altogether, and the great success story that the Republic of Korea has been able to demonstrate to the rest of the world, and also the measures that they've put into place, we'll be following suit along with them, watching very closely what takes place within the Republic of Korea, and then implementing those measures. Some things will not change that as we transition from HPCOM Charlie to Bravo, and those are our core tenets that we'll always remain focused on. The social distancing aspect, all the measures of personal responsibility, the hand cleaning, the enhanced hygiene actions, the reporting of symptoms, a lot of those other sorts of things we're going to have to continue both on our military communities and off in the civic and civilian communities.
Sir, it's often said that a team remembers their leaders and how they led them during the hardest of times. As you prepare to depart to Camp Humphreys over the next couple months, what do you hope the people will take from your time as the 19th ESC commander and how you led them during the COVID-19 crisis?
Well, first of all, I'll tell you, it has been one of the greatest privileges of my career to serve here in Daegu with this great military community here, the great civilian community, and all the support that we receive from everybody here. And it's just been a great joy to serve as the commander of the 19th ESC. And what I hope people will take away from my time here is that we must always remember the number one priority in the Army is our people. The people are what compose our strength. Our uniformed team members, our civilian team members, our extended support through our contracted workers, our KN workers, and of course the great support from our family members. We must always put that first because that's the foundation of our readiness. It's the foundation of our ability to take care of our mission. And it's really the foundation of the way that we represent our nation, is the way that we take care of our people, the way we prepare them for their wartime missions, and then the way we develop them. So if there's one thing that I'd hope people take away is that every soldier counts. And that's the motto of the 19th ESC. And that focus on every single soldier, every single member of the team, having a paramount focus of the command is something that I hope will remain as a legacy.
Sir, thank you so much for sitting down with us for a few moments. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
And of course, I'll just say that in terms of Daegu, the 19th ESC, and all the teammates down here, I'm really proud of how they've all come together. And we've been able to operate as a single team throughout this entire fight. And that's a second part that I hope will survive beyond my departure, is that tight community emphasis and tight community capability that we've been able to generate in a new way during the COVID-19 environment.